Cuyahoga County and the city of Cleveland now addressing the possibility that the federal building downtown could be sold. 19 Data journalist Jeff Slauson is here with the latest on what would happen to the thousands of employees who work there.
Yeah, a little bit confused about the timing of this, if we're being 100% honest, because a couple of weeks ago, we reported on the fact that the federal building downtown was listed on a federal website to be sold. That was then taken down. Since then, it has not returned to that page, and yet Cuyahoga County, Cleveland Mayor, and Cleveland City Council all releasing statements today talking about potentially what could happen if it does go away. So this is what it looks like as of right now on the U.S. federal government's website, specifically that handle getting rid of certain buildings. You will notice on all of the listings that are currently there, only about 7 or 8 buildings, all of them not in Ohio. Now, again, earlier in the month, there were hundreds of federal buildings listed. In fact, 7 of them, were in Ohio, with the largest one throughout the entire state. That was the Celebreeze Federal Building downtown, almost 1.2 million square feet covering the entire area, the largest building by far. So why exactly was that listed in the first place, and potentially what could we be seeing from certain areas in our local governments? Well, it was placed on, again, the USGSA list. That was in early March. This is a list that would look to sell properties that are quote unquote not core to government operations. Right now, 4,000 employees are in that federal building with the Department of Defense, VA, IRS, different ones like that currently in the area. So let's get to the statements from multiple sides on this. We'll go back to the Cuyahoga County statement. That shouldn't show up like that, but hey, we'll move on here. The county has been in contact with federal officials. Cuyahoga County urges leadership to reinvest in the building to ensure that all federal jobs are retained in our urban core. And then Mayor Bibb releasing this statement. While GSA is early in the process of determining next steps for the building, it is concerning nonetheless. At this time, there's no indication that they plan to reduce staffing. But this then leads to the next question. If there is no indication that they plan to reduce staffing, and if it's been a couple of weeks since the federal building was on the federal website, why are we getting these statements now? This is something that we did reach out on weeks ago following when it was announced and then it was taken off. But it does seem like potentially there is a concern within Cuyahoga County and, of course, within the mayor's office that that building could be sold. Now, that doesn't mean it will be forever vacant, but sold to a different entity, which could mean that the federal workers in there potentially get moved somewhere else. A lot of moving parts. We have yet to see it re-show up on this website. Of course, if it does and we get any inclination that the sale will happen, we'll let you know first, both on air and online.